Welcome, friends, to the Gaijin Animation Appreciation Hour with your hosts Sig Bisley and Colt Mauser. Before we get started, please be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content just like this. Now, let the animation appreciation commence.
All right, it's a vacation episode, so it's probably going to be a little shorter, and
Yeah, don't expect much.
I'd say it's going to be a little more half-assed than usual, but that's almost impossible, so probably not. I do have to make, before we do anything, I want to make a correction from last week. We made a grievous error in our top 5 Christmas episodes and omitted one of my favorites, which is the Boondocks Christmas episode.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Don't look at Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones can't help you.
I know. Santa, you gonna pay what you owe.
So anyway, correction. Go out and watch that one if you've never seen it. It's fucking hilarious. I don't remember what season it is.
First season.
I think it's first season.
It's first season. I mean, it's the Boondocks. First 3 seasons are good. Everything else,
I didn't even watch. I think I watched like 1 or 2 episodes of the 4th one. It was just like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote this, you're not Aaron McGruder.
Yeah, you are not Aaron McGruder. This doesn't work.
At any rate, so I wanted something upbeat and extremely manly to end off such a shitty year with. So we're doing a review of
KOUTETSUSHIN JEEG.
Oh, God, it's a fucking mouthful. KOUTETSUSHIN JEEG.
Steel new Jeeg.
Yeah, whatever.
Shin means like a lot of things.
Yeah. I asked my cousin about that. She's like, oh, yeah. Because I was like bitching about like how they're kind of word poor and like some words.
They're sound poor and word poor.
Some words mean like 20 different things. She's like, no. And I'm like, what does shin mean then? She's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what a master's degree in Japanese gets you. Anyway, so watching that got me thinking, what franchises do you like? What franchises have you forgot about that you want to come back this year? Because Japan will wait 20 years to just do a fucking sequel of something.
Yeah. And what ones have successfully come back in some form or another, either as a remake or a sequel or whatever. Both good questions, I think.
Yep. But before any of that, news.
Yeah, the news, what little of it there is. Although, there's some. So, unsurprisingly, I think, Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the prequel movie.
Oh, man. My PP can only get so hard.
Dominated the Japanese box office.
Fucking domination.
Because, of course, it did.
Domination.
Domination is $23.5 million on a Friday, so, yeah. Oh, no, that's for 3 days, sorry. So, that's not exactly, that's pretty good. It's pretty damn good, since it probably cost, like, not that much to make. But,
and it's probably only like 45 minutes or something. You know how they do with those.
I don't know. But it's, yeah. I mean, listen, Spider-Man's just blowing away everything.
Oh, it's actually good. So,
which is good. Well, I don't know. Everyone tells me it's good. See it.
If that many people lied, then I'm just going to go hide in the woods forever.
It'll be fine. So, yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I want to see it. I don't know when the hell you'll be able to see it over here.
Oh, my God. It'll take forever. They've been better with that lately, but...
Probably, unfortunately. So, yeah. I mean, if you have the ability to watch it, go check it out. Apparently, a lot of people are. All right. So, a little bit of news, something for this season. So, the Faraway Paladin, which is one of those shows I wanted to watch more of, but haven't yet.
I'm almost caught up.
You can tell me whether it's actually worth it or not.
Yeah, probably next week. I think everything's done, so we could do the wrap-up.
So, Faraway Paladin, good, bad, indifferent?
I liked it a lot so far.
Well, it's getting a second season.
Excellent.
That just got announced. So
I hope AimAim's getting a second season because they did a lot. It was really good so far, but they did a lot of time wasting.
I'm assuming it's a Sunrise show. I'm going to assume it's going to be longer. But yeah.
It seems like paced for 24, so let's hope.
Faraway Paladin getting a second season. I don't know when or how long or anything else, but yeah. Look forward to that if you're checking that show out.
Like the first half of that, like the first half of that season, like the first season is basically him getting taught by those 4 dead people how to be awesome. And then he doesn't actually start doing stuff till halfway through.
It's a light novel series. You know how that goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty of material.
Structured exactly how all the other one are. Yeah. So.
Anyway, moving on. Speaking of franchises that I thought were dead, but then kind of came back and are still rolling.
That's what I'm talking about.
They're doing another Fafnir spinoff. Now, I wish Fafnir wasn't the one getting all this attention because it's like the most black-pilled, depressing thing in existence.
Fafnir is kind of interesting because it like took that. Well, I mean, that's what Evangelion popped up. All the like super depressing, super emo, like sad boy pilot shows. And that was like one of the worst ones. Not worst, because I liked a lot of it. But it's just, oh man, they just keep doubling down on the depressing shit. Whatever the last one was that they put out, I watched that, and then I'm just like...
Exodus, yeah, it was 2015.
I'm just like, my little boy heart can't take anymore. So I don't know if I'm even going to watch the next one.
Yeah, I didn't... You know, it was one of those series I kept meaning to get to. I watched like a couple episodes years and years and years
It's really
ago.
good. It's just it never ends happy.
I never did, but then, yeah, I kept... Look, I like my entertainment to end... For the most part, I like it to end happy-ish. Because I'd like my entertainment to not be reality. And...
Especially nowadays, right?
There's some exceptions to that. Like Cowboy Bebop is excellent regardless of what the ending does.
And I mean, it kind of had to do that.
Yeah, and some shows it makes a lot of sense for certain things to happen, and that's fine. I hate when it's kind of like out of nowhere. Like, why is this so awful? What the hell? You didn't have to do this narratively.
If you're not in the best of moods, do not watch Fafnir.
Yeah, well, anyway, maybe the spinoff will be the happy spinoff. So there's a...
It's kind of... It's just structured to be depressing. I don't think you can get any, like... It's a very good show. Like, it's super entertaining, but...
Yeah, well, there's going to be a spinoff. So.
I think they have to keep making it shitty, to do a spinoff, because if it ever had a good ending, you couldn't do anymore, you know what I mean?
No idea. Anyway,
that's just how the story works, really.
Anyway, that'll be coming out at some point. If they just announced it, it's tough with Japan. Sometimes when they just announce something, it's 20 years
fucking
later.
5 years later. Yeah.
Maybe not 20, but it takes forever. Sometimes when they announce it, it's like already basically in the can, and like 6 months later, you're already getting it.
Yeah, because I mean, the last one was what you said, 2015.
2015, yeah.
God, that feels so long ago.
No.
Actually, no, it doesn't feel long ago at all, because I actually still remember what it was about. But that was like, what, almost 7 years ago.
Shut up, you.
I know.
Anyway, another thing that's getting a pseudo-sequel, OddTaxi, is getting a film. Apparently, they're going to rejigger the series and tell some of the story after the series.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm stoked on that.
I'm curious to see. I'm not as stoked on the restructuring of the series. I thought it was tight.
It was kind of perfect, yeah.
That it's going to be hard to do that, but we'll let them try. I'm interested to see what the sequel stuff will have.
Yeah, it's more interesting than a rejigger of the series.
So I'm.
But if it's the same people writing it, I trust them.
Oh yeah, it's the same people.
They did an awesome job.
I'm interested. I really like. I mean, OddTaxi. This is something we could have done. What's our anime of the year for this year?
Too bad we suck.
OddTaxi.
Let's do it right now. Let's add it in.
Yeah. I don't think I watched enough of it, enough anime to be able to tell you that what my anime of the year was. You might be able to do it.
Oh, I could pick out one.
But OddTaxi's up there.
OddTaxi was the technically out of nowhere, like the best written, best surprise out of the year.
It was excellent.
100%.
By far. Yeah, I mean, I could get a Robo just because I have a soft spot, but get a Robo's a mess.
Yeah, really.
It's a fantastic mess, but it's a mess.
Yeah.
Anyway, OddTaxi movie coming out in April. April 1st, 2022, but I don't think Japan understands April Fool's Day jokes as well as we do, so I don't think that's actually a joke.
Ha ha ha.
So yeah, that's not too far away. I don't know if it's going to stream. Apparently Crunchyroll said they're going to stream it, but I don't know if that means right away or what kind of time lag there is. So hey, if you liked OddTaxi, check it out. If you didn't like OddTaxi, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen OddTaxi, watch OddTaxi.
I think that is, after mulling it over for the last 30 seconds, I think that is probably the best thing that came out last year.
Yeah.
That wasn't already a, just more Demon Slayer or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't tend to include,
continuations
of existing franchises. I mean, that's unfair, but that's a lot of that's just luck of the draw. Like, oh, they got to this specific arc in One Piece this year.
Yeah,
okay,
but I mean,
maybe that's good.
If Demon Slayer or whatever was the best anime of whatever year it came out, then
yes,
it already won.
That's also true.
It takes it out of, once you've won, you're out of contention.
Also true. Anyway, so
I can say a lot of things that weren't best anime of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Jorin, Princess of Disappointment and Sorrow.
The Dot and Deities know only how to write a bad story.
Yeah.
What a fucking garbage mess.
That whole bunch of cyberpunk shows that were all like
Super
the
mediocre,
worst
or
CG
just
animation.
The worst CG animation.
They were just
You can't do cyberpunk on a shit budget.
No, like, and plus Psycho-Pass already has it. Like, don't you got to be?
You're not gonna get.
You
Much
gotta at least
better
try to
than
get
that.
to Psycho-Pass or beat it. Like,
Yeah.
stop fucking around. All right, moving on. Stranger news. Interesting news though.
Weird, wild.
So, Junji Ito, horror manga extraordinaire, horror mangaka, I should say, extraordinaire. Apparently they're doing it in Uzumaki anime, and he's gonna voice some characters, or at least one character. That's kind of cool. I don't know that he's done a lot of voice work before.
It's kind of a weird thing, but it's cool.
Apparently, it's going to be a 4-episode thing, which makes sense because I have Uzumaki. I haven't read it yet, but it's a one. You know, they have it in I think it was 3 volumes or something, but it's in one thick manga volume.
Yeah.
You could just buy it at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, it's like
or
one of the
whatever.
omnibus things.
Yeah, and it's not like super.
Those are so impossible to read. Like I have the Ray Earth one. It's like fucking 4 inches thick.
Yeah,
it's so ridiculous.
Uzumaki's not quite that bad.
It like hurts my arm when I'm holding it up.
Apparently, it's going to debut on Toonami, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
Whether it still does or not, but that's what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to be in 2020. Then it was delayed to 2021. Now it's delayed till 2022. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, more animated Junji Ito isn't a bad thing.
Definitely not.
This, as long as it's well executed, and kind of interesting that he's actually going to voice one of the characters. So that's pretty cool.
I like it.
All right, moving on to more news where companies should have never done this in the first place. So Game Maker Voltage, which
There's a lot of that going on.
they do primarily like visual novels, like romance, game
I know what you're
apps,
talking
that kind of stuff. They're shutting down the U.S. division in San Francisco. Why, oh why, would you have a U.S. division in the most taxonous state around? I
Yeah,
get
it
that
seems
it's
dumb.
close. If you're in Japan, it's closer than a lot of other places. But man,
I would always pick there's
do
so
it.
many nice places in Northern California where you could set up shop, just small cities. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I would avoid California altogether, but
Yeah, but if you're looking
especially
for close,
avoid San Francisco. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, but I mean the entire. No offense if you live on the West Coast, but the entire West Coast is pretty, cities wise, is pretty sketchy.
Yeah, labor costs in the Silicon Valley is one of the reasons they're moving out. Yeah, no shit. They probably, I mean, I'm sorry. If you're a romance novel company, you're going to get canceled every 5 seconds or be forced to put in a bunch of weird stuff
I
that
never
even
even
Japan
thought
doesn't
about
want.
that. That's
right?
pretty funny, yeah.
That's going to be difficult, right? You're
That
going to get a
might be
lot of
why they're
bullshit.
leaving.
So there's no reason. Hire some people to just do your translations. They don't even have to be in Japan. Like you'd be done. I don't
Japan
know.
has a hard time adapting to people working from other places. You know what I mean?
They're very old school, which is unsurprising.
You could just send them that through the email.
Yeah.
Or, a fucking Dropbox or,
There's
whatever.
a lot of other ways they could do it. There's no real need to have a U.S. subsidiary anymore. I mean, I'm sure there's some legal things that get you and whatnot, but
A lot of that craft's going to probably disappear, which is good. Get the fuck out of here. You're way better just keeping your shit.
Yeah, not because we don't want you here, but because you don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Believe me.
I don't want certain individuals to spoil.
Yeah, not in the
things
entertainment industry in this country. It's just it's too corrupted at the moment. It's going to take a while to come back around. And you're not going to find much solace because if you go to an entertainment company that isn't a part of that kind of woke culture, for lack of a better word, it's unfortunately going to be mostly conservative, and that means you're not going to be able to do a lot of the stuff you want to do anyway. You literally have nowhere to turn.
Yeah, it's hard to find a place where you can just do nice.
The tentacles are going to come out, and people are going to go, oh, can't have that now.
Tentacles.
Yeah. So anyway, Voltage pulling out of the U.S. I don't know that means you won't get more. If you're a fan of their games, I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if that means stuff won't come out here or not get translated. I doubt it. I mean, it's going to be English language. It just makes too much sense.
Or maybe they did figure out you can do things with people not in the country, and
that's what I'm hoping.
now.
I mean, Christ, we get Super Robot Wars games over here now, which is insane.
Thank God.
But anyway, finally, and you know about this bit of news already. Tomino, being Tomino, popping off with I think this one's a really bad take. Sometimes he's got a good nugget in there, but
I don't think so. Tomino is like king of bad takes.
Saying Japan is no longer a leader in animation, which I don't agree.
Name one fucking thing that's China, like Korea, yes, but China's never done.
Korea does a lot of Japan's actual animation, but
Yeah.
they're not producing a lot of their own stuff yet. You know what I mean?
But I mean,
for actual animation, like where animation is produced, Korea's got to be number one already.
They're like almost the only place that does it.
Rough cut and
And I mean that's
all those
been
places,
since like they've been doing that shit since like Transformers. Like
80s.
since
the 80s. Oh, for sure. Right. So I get that, but I think he's obviously more referring to, the directing, the production, the writing, all that good stuff, right?
Who the fuck else is doing it?
It's the U.S. is not innovating. Like, we get a couple gems here and there. Arcane was good. Castlevania was pretty good. I think a lot of the DC ones.
I think it's going to get
good.
better in coming years.
Oh, I certainly think it is. It's starting to seep its way into the mainstream where the U.S. audience is starting to accept it more as an adult product.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That took a long time. It took a generation of people growing up with anime, honestly.
Thank you, Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, right. And Sailor Moon and,
Sailor Moon was OG.
Those are probably the two biggest.
That's like what got my sister. I mean, not my sister, my cousin hooked.
Yeah. But I mean, that's, I think you're going to see in coming years that obviously the acceptance of animation, you're going to catch on. In the U.S. maybe will become a leader again.
I mean, The Simpsons too. I mean, that was the first kind of like, adults watch this.
Yeah, and that's adult comedy animation has been big in the U.S. for forever.
Yeah, for forever.
Right, since
The
Simpsons.
You're right now that you think about it. Like comedy was always like a standard thing, but then, to get like a serious, because Arcane was serious fucking business.
Well, I mean, it just makes more sense. It's like, do I really... okay, let's take Warhammer, right? Mm-hmm. Let's take the Horus Heresy. Something clearly a property that really needs to be adapted properly, right? There's a lot of potential there.
You can't fuck it up.
It's, well, I mean, you could, but...
No, I mean, like, you're not allowed to.
I agree. You're not allowed to fuck it up.
It's too good the way it is.
And GW would never let you. Say what you want about them. They're going to keep a death grip on something like the Horus Heresy. And the writing and the narrative. They have so many writers on staff that do Horus Heresy that you're not going to get woke bullshit in there as long as they keep control. Regardless, plus I don't even know where the hell it would come from. Like, Sisters of Silence, Mary Sue, like, how would it even work? It's a story about a lot of big genetically modified dudes and big stompy armor burning down the galaxy. Anyway.
Don't get me into the female Space Marine argument.
Anyway, it would be so... never mind.
When you really think about it, it's just more work for the Imperium.
Let me finish my thought here. So, the Horus Heresy is one of those big, giant things. It's like, Legends of the Galactic Heroes big, right? Trying to do a live action of that is it's a fool's game.
Yeah, you're 100%
it's
right.
Way too expensive. It'll be padded out with useless talking all the time, which is a lot of good talky scenes in Horus Heresy. Don't get me wrong.
It'd be so much.
But the problem is, even a talky scene, you're going to have giant dudes and armor. You're going to need CG. It would be so much easier and just as good, I think, to animate it. Just animate it with good animation. Not like, I actually, I know this is a hot take. I'm actually liking the Warhammer Plus stuff, but it's the animation quality is not there yet.
The writing's great. Like, the actual story's good.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of cool tricks to, like, what's the fucking...
the one Angels of Death one.
Yeah, that was really good. How everything was black and white with a little bit of red.
Yeah.
And, they do a good job, like, making up for their lack of money. So I know they're trying. Like, I don't hate it. Plus, but it would be better if they had real money.
So, I mean, I certainly think that's something. So, I think my point is, it'll be interesting to see how some of these franchises go. Because, something like Star Wars is so expensive. Let's forget about the narrative issues going on with Star Wars. But, like, you clearly could not create 10, 20, 30 episodes of Star Wars every year on the cheap. You just can't do it.
Fucking look how much... The Mandalorian didn't even have anything that crazy in it.
And it gets like 10 episodes and it's a fortune, right?
Yeah, it's like fucking millions of dollars an episode.
Live action Horus Heresy, look, maybe in 10, 15 years it'll be that cheap. But it's not. And I don't think it adds much. An animated one would be perfectly acceptable. Now, you want to go do Eisenhorn or something, sure. Right? Something that's a little more intimate, a little smaller, you can do as a live action. Like, you could do a Gaunt's Ghost live action, for Christ's sake. It'd be too expensive.
It's just too many battles.
Yeah, way too expensive. So I think my point there is, as the U.S. becomes more amenable to that, they may actually become more innovators. And I shouldn't say just the U.S. because it'll be the U.S., the U.K., Australia even. Like, they kind of all operate somewhat in tandem, especially as Hollywood fractures a bit and more, Canada too, I should bring up, as more locations, start to do stuff remotely.
Yeah.
That's going to help. So I guess Tomino is not wrong in that regard that, yeah, there are some up-and-comers, but I don't, he's really thinking about China, and I'm sorry.
China doesn't make shit that the rest of the world likes, and they're never going to, because it always has
really
to be
always
has to be like rah-rah communism.
You need that, you need that narrative party control that's just not, it's going to get in the way of the narrative.
It's never
every
appealing,
time.
really. I mean,
no, I don't find it very
You
appealing
remember
at
when
all.
Hong Kong movies went from awesome to...
Yeah.
Communism.
I remember watching Hero.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, hey, like the last movie I saw that came out of Hong Kong was fucking amazing. This is just like commie propaganda.
Yeah. So, anyway, Tomino being Tomino, he's, black
All
pilled.
those guys are black pilled as fuck. Look at Miyazaki. Jesus Christ.
Anime was a mistake.
Yes, he's been doing it for years, just like shitting on the whole. And I get what he's talking about, because there's just a lot of trash. Like, a lot of the culture is bad, but it's just, it is what it is.
And I do get that, I think he's just trying to spur the industry on. Like, I will say that Japan is behind the curve on certain things in animation. Like, their CG integration is not as good as some of the Western studios, but UFO Table, whatever, has got it on lock, right? Like Demon Slayer, they do an excellent job.
Yeah.
Like, they've been working on that
you
for
almost
years.
can't tell.
And some of the other studios are just not there yet. So,
fucking KOUTETSUSHIN JEEG.
Yep.
Like, they did an awesome job, not to get ahead of myself, but they did an awesome job with, like, animated stuff and then, like, the bikes and shit where CG, you barely, I mean, it did not stick out. I had to be
It wasn't that bad.
For 2007?
Yeah, it was pretty
really
damn good.
fucking good.
Agreed. So anyway, I'm not going to prattle on about Tomino being black-pilled anymore because that's obvious. I do think it's interesting to see where animation is going to go and, what it's going to do. And I really do think that in the West, you're going to see a lot more adult-oriented animation.
Considering some of the best stuff I've seen in the last 5 years has been, or 10 years really, has been in the last few years.
Yeah, especially...
And I mean, with an industry that's in, like, the disarray that's in now.
And especially sci-fi and fantasy. Like, I don't know that you're ever going to get a ton of dramas that way.
Yeah,
right?
like, Japan loves that, but it's not
I just don't know that you're going to get that, like a crime show or drama or something. Like, it's just so cheap to do that live action anyway that I don't think you're going to see that. But in those genres where it is, exceedingly expensive to do them, superheroes, which are obviously popular, and sci-fi and high fantasy, like, you're going to see it more.
That's why I never got, like, that big. It was probably 10 years ago, maybe, when, like, slice of life anime was just, like, the thing.
Yeah.
It was the isekai of its day, where, like, if 20 shows came out in a season, like 15 of them would just be like boring high school donking around. You know what I mean? You could just hire actors to do that. It costs nothing. You know what I mean? It's a waste.
Yeah. I mean, it does. They do treat them a little differently, and they do treat it's not quite the same thing. So I get that there's a niche there, and I get the appeal. I'm with you that I'm surprised the industry produced that much of it. But hey, I guess it sold a lot. So, and we've always said how Japan is ruthless about producing things that sell. So.
That's true.
Anyway, that's the news for the day, for the week.
Slow week. Not too bad, though.
So, franchises that should make a comeback.
Boom.
Let's go to that first.
Stuff you've been waiting for. Everybody has that favorite thing they just won't fucking finish. And mine is Fullmetal Panic. Because it only
top
has
of my list too.
one fucking season left.
So Fullmetal Panic, for the love of God, when it came back, I figured they were just going to finish it. It would have only taken 26 episodes to finish it. No. They did like 12 episodes. A couple of them were delayed.
Yeah, that was kind of a horror show when it came out because it's like, oh, they took mad weeks off in between, and
there wasn't anything going on at the time that would account for.
No, there was like production quality issues and like all this kind of shit I was reading about. So,
like, guys, you have one season left. Fucking finish it, and then you can start selling box sets and blah 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 blah.
Oh, they blue balls you so hard because like the Arbalest only gets like.
Oh, the Levitain.
Oh, Levitain, sorry. You only get like one episode of him going ham.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, it's over. Wait for the rest of it. Dicks.
So, I mean, granted, it took 15 years to get that much of it.
It's such a, like, at the time, like, for probably the first 5 to 10 years, the anime had, like, really gotten big in the West. That was the biggest selling.
That was the time to strike.
Yeah.
That was the time to strike.
But that was the biggest selling, franchise in North America for, like, the first,
for a while.
say from 2000 to 2010, probably.
Yeah. So anyway, Full Metal Panic, obviously it's another thing. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Even though it doesn't have a real ending, it's still very cool. There's a lot of good stuff
Well, I
in
mean,
there.
it will have a real ending.
Well, and there are light novels out there, so I mean, if you really want to know what the ending is, you could go read the last light novel.
But there's only like one book left they have to adapt. Get it together.
Yeah, they really need to get it together and just finish it. For the love of God. It's killer.
Mm-hmm.
So my first one here, well, my first one was Full Metal Panic as well, but my first one here, after Full Metal Panic, is another obvious one. It's one I've said a dozen times, more than a dozen times. When fucking Studio David is done with frickin' all the Endless JoJos, and they're getting close, Fist of the North Star.
Oh my God.
Go back to the OG. You need to make money still. Go back and readapt Fist of the North Star.
Oh, just do the manga too.
That's what I mean.
Just
go readapt
cut out
it.
all the filler. Just readapt
it.
Do it in that awesome style that they do JoJo's in.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the color palette will be a little different, but other than that,
no, that's fine. I'm not gonna
be a whore about that's what I want to see. That exact thing. And it makes so much goddamn sense, which means it won't happen. But someone needs to frickin' redo Fist of the North Star from the manga, because they never really finished the manga in the old series. The old series has filler. It's old. It's fun. I like it. It's fun to watch.
Listen,
but
that punching the tank to death, like,
that's hilarious.
The best.
Pure filler, but hilarious. But they need to do it. Let's come on. Let's go here. Anyway, what else you got?
This just occurred to me, but I want them to finish Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
The new one.
Like the new one?
Yeah. Yeah, that one is less urgent to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just popped into my head.
Because the original still exists, and, the story's there. The story has been animated. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's good.
I just like what they're doing with the new one. I would like them to
I like the new one too. Some people don't. I think, you're always going to have that when you have an original version that's very well loved.
Yeah.
I like it. But they are, you know what? That one I don't worry about because they are still coming out with it. There's more of it coming out soon. So,
indeed.
I don't have to worry about it coming back necessarily because it is.
Anyway, what I was actually going to say, there is Oh My Goddess that they have not adapted.
Oh, yes. And that's a good one. I didn't even think about that. You were right. I really, man, I need more of the Motorcycle Club, man.
Yeah, it kind of snuck out of my head, and like it popped up somewhere the other day. I'm like, I really enjoyed that show.
It's one of those forgotten phrases. It's kind of like how they went back and really kind of sewed up Tenchi Muyo finally.
Yeah.
And I haven't even gone back to rewatch it. I got to someday because I loved the original OVA back in the day, and it always irked me that it didn't have an ending. Mm-hmm. And now, like, it apparently has an ending, although Tenchi's hard because there's like 2 or 3 different timelines going on. So
yeah,
you got to figure out which timeline, whatever particular series is in. But I'm pretty sure the original OVA timeline has now been kind of
pretty much wrapped up,
narratively wrapped up. I could be wrong. That's just what I've heard. So yeah. Oh My Goddess, I'm with you on that one. I enjoyed that show because it wasn't just slice of life. It had that little magic stuff going on.
Yeah, it incorporated a lot of cool
comedy. Like, yeah, yeah. And the adaptation they did was good. Like, that's one where, like, I don't think they have to go remake the other seasons. They could just keep doing more.
Yeah, and it was romancy without being schlocky.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They had a good balance of, like,
Yes.
It wasn't too girly time.
Yeah. I got another one here. It's kind of generic. But, keep the Super Robot remakes coming. But we need more variety. Like, I love that I get Getter Robo series all the time. I love that I get Mazinger Z-related series all the time. I love that I at least got one Jeeg series, but, like, where's my Voltaise V and Combatler V?
Don't you want Trider, like, 60th
Trider G7
or something?
Yeah, like...
There's a lot to mine from there.
Radiant and not the crappy one that they remade. We'll talk about that one later a little bit. There's a lot... Like you said, there's a lot to mine from. There's a lot of old 70s, early 80s... Super Robot shows that I'd love to see a remake of. Like they did that Guy King a few years ago, and that Guy King was awesome.
Another thing. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Because that's on my list of ones done correctly.
Right. So Yeah, I want more of those series. Could because there's a lot of good ideas in there, and they could use a remake. And we're kind of mecha poor right now, so well, not this season because it finally blew up again, but
It's getting there.
let's see it.
Hey, there's like a real legit Sunrise mecha show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that isn't Gundam.
Like old school, like it could have been made 10 years ago.
Yeah, we're getting a new AU Gundam. I'm pretty happy about that too. Well,
Can't
I
say
may not
that.
be by the time it debuts, but we'll see. Anyway, what else you got?
Watching Arcadia in my youth the other day made me like Jonesing for more Harlock. They do not do enough with that. None of that like Matsumoto stuff.
Yeah.
They, like do enough with.
I agree. I think there's a lot to be mined in the
It's just got such a cool style.
the quote unquote Matsumoto verse. Like we could do more. I mean, you did get the. I don't know if this is strictly. It's not. I don't know if they think it's technically the same universe, but because a lot of the stuff is what the hell was the show Yamato? They did Yamato
Yeah.
a while ago with similar vibes, right?
Yamato's cool, but it was never my favorite.
No.
Harlock is cooler than Yamato.
No, I want that more space adventure, Star Wars style, less so the, space war.
Yeah. Star
Star Wars is a war, but you know what I mean. I want that more adventure style of Harlock and Galaxy Express 999 and that kind of stuff.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's a huge universe that's not really being utilized much.
No,
and
not at all.
It really should be.
And they haven't really burned it out. It's like they've done a ton of them. You know what I mean? Like they do a new Harlock.
They've done a ton of
series
episodes, but they
every
did it,
once in a while.
so many years ago.
That's what I mean. It's been like fucking
And they did that
20 years, probably 15 years, something like that.
that mediocre as hell Harlock movie a few years
Oh, that
back.
sucked.
Uh,
That was when they were doing. Oh, excuse me. All those edgy like emo movies. Like,
yeah, it wasn't.
Oh, what the fuck
Didn't work
was
for
it?
me.
What is the one where he Cash Earn? Where they made that awful Cash Earn movie where
Cash
he
Earned
like.
Sins.
But like, yeah, Cash Earn Sins was exactly the same thing they did with Harlock. Like, oh, he fucked up. He ruined everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you shitting on the main character
black
so
belt.
hard? That's not what I paid to see.
It's all right. Leiji Matsumoto related stuff, especially Harlock related, I agree. 100%. That would be awesome. I'd love to see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
They never even finished Endless Orbit SSX. They never really continued that Arcadia My Youth storyline. Like, I'd love to see more. Love to see more. All right. So, similar vein, although I may regret this one after the last iteration, more Macross. I want more
That was
Macross.
on my list too.
I want it. Like, I know
Just don't let that guy do it anymore.
every other one seemed to be a stinker. Like, Macross, I know a lot of people out there like freaking Macross 7. I don't like it.
If you
Not
liked
good.
Macross 7, please get in contact with us and tell us why. Because Sig's stepbrother was fucking all over it. And he would not shut up about it. And he forced me to watch it. And it was not that fucking good.
No.
Like, the main character was super fucking annoying.
Basra is annoying.
But Gamlin, who is like the, I don't know, side character, was like super based.
Yeah, Gamlin's awesome.
And they just didn't give him enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a great show. It really isn't. I
And
don't
it's
like it.
long as fuck.
It
It's
is very
like
long.
100 million episodes. Nah, it's like 50 something.
It's long. Macross series, I think, do better when they're 20. Even the original, which is it's a weird number. It's like 30 something. I think it's been a long time since I've watched original Macross. Like, it did a good job because the actual narrative was wrapped up in like 20-ish episodes, 24-ish episodes, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of played out the string and showed you some of the aftermath. They gave you a good epilogue. I thought that was good.
I
It
like
was
a
an
good
interesting thing.
epilogue. They don't do that in a lot of stuff.
They don't. I mean, a lot of times they'll do it as an OVA or a movie or something. That's fine. But they did it in the series here. It was interesting. Anyway, I like Macross Frontier. Delta.
Frontier was really good.
I watched a couple episodes of Delta and it just made me want to die. It was terrible.
Delta
I
just
couldn't
should have been a
stand it.
different show. Like, if you want to do a little girl singing, dancing show, like, fucking do it.
I was not into it.
don't
Or do it as a
Macross it.
side story. Like, I don't know. Whatever. Regardless.
Yeah, like do an OVA. Don't like get me all stiff for a new Macross show and then give me that.
I want to see more Macross, especially the further adventures of Isamu and his awesome backwards wing freaking
Yeah, man.
Macross planes.
Pretty cool.
All right, so that one was mine. So what else you got?
Space Adventure Cobra. I know I'm
Yep.
doing a lot of stuff we've done, but that's why we were doing them, because I was
Yep.
picking them.
Yeah, Space Adventure Cobra. That's another good
That's
one.
a big expansive universe. You could, and it's got that
And you can do side stories and stuff there too.
it's got that Harlock steez where you
Yep.
can just kind of space pirate around.
Yeah.
Am I getting a space pirate theme?
Listen. I'm a sucker for that
Space
kind of
pirates.
thing. So, another universe I think that's being underutilized Lotus War and Rune Soldier Louis, if you remember.
Oh, we were gonna do that at one point, but I was having trouble finding. Like, I have it on DVD, but I was trying to find a rip of it, so I didn't have to rip it myself.
Yeah, it's a lot of people don't like it. I love that show. I thought it was a fun show, but you know, it's a comedy show set in kind of the same universe.
Only complaint about it was the story kind of just peters out at the end.
It really does.
But the actual like meat of it was really funny.
But Lotus War, like the universe, there needs to be more. I think there could be more.
Oh, Lotus War, definitely.
And it's a shame. And they could even remake, you know, because it's kind of a mess. Like, you have the OVA, and then the OVA goes and has like a different ending than the light novels had. And then and then they, you know, you have the Chronicles of the Heroic Knight, which is the series, which starts like
it's up to like
6 or 7,
5 or something.
Yeah, you almost have to
go back and you have to do it. What the fuck? Jesus, Brotherhood. What the fuck?
Fullmetal Alchemist. Yeah.
God damn it! I couldn't think of that.
It could use that kind of remake where they
a lot of stuff needs that.
They just go and do it. That would be cool. But anyway, yeah, that's another universe I'd like to see more. Plus, I mean, good fantasy is good fantasy. Non-isekai fantasy, for the love of God.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Like the whole. There's too.
Doesn't always have to be fish out of water.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else you got?
There's no space operas either. I know that's not a thing. That's more of a genre thing, and I bitch about it all the time. But there's a lot of those.
Well, I mean, more Matsumoto stuff would help.
I like to they stopped doing Dirty Pair movies too, which kind of
more Dirty Pair. G Gundam. I know I say G Gundam all the time, but that's something that clearly could have had more stuff.
That was also on my list.
You could do a completely different story. Just more of those like Gundam universes.
That's an easy one too, because you could do just Gundam fight year whatever with all different pilots. And,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, you know, a lot of those Gundam universes, they get 1 or 2 series, and then it's like it's over, and you don't necessarily need more, but you might want more. Like, I know some people would love more Seed, whatever floats your boat. But I think G Gundam is one of the easier ones to redo. Plus, it kind of fills that super robot niche that's missing.
It's very true.
I only had one more that I just came to my head, which is ROD, Read or Die.
Oh, that's a good one.
Another thing we got to review, at least the movie of. But I like the movie a lot. I like the series a lot. I'd love to see more in that universe.
Really would.
Ridiculous Paper Masters and
yeah, it's just got a lot of cool shit in it.
The further adventures of Drake trying to get home to his daughter.
That show's funny because like everybody has crazy superpowers except Drake, who's just like an American military guy, and he's got guns and grenades, and that's it.
Pretty much.
And he's always getting his ass handed to him because he has to work like a million times as hard.
Yeah. But yeah, that I would love to see more ROD. I really enjoyed it, and you know, you don't get enough of it. So
very true. Yeah, it's a good one. I didn't think of that.
Anything else?
I'm sure there's 100 of them I didn't think of, but that was my list.
Anything else before we transition to shows that were remade or franchises that were continued that actually were successful?
Not really. I think that about does it.
Okay. So, all right. Remakes, sequels, franchises resurrected. Which ones do you think did a good job? What's your first one?
I'll incorporate every like Go Nagai. Dynamic Planning does the best job with that.
Yeah. Yep.
Even if you're not into that, like if you like taking something that was big in the 70s and then making it in the 2000s and having it, they have like really good respect for the original characters. Plus, they can bring in new characters.
You saw how much Devilman Crybaby popped off.
Yeah.
Right? And that was good.
It's really good, man. And that was like not even that was a sequel, just kind of a retelling.
Kind of a retelling, a remake, yeah.
They're good at those though, like
which is fine.
Get a Robo does that fucking all the time. It's just like a retelling of the same story,
loosely in the same continuity sometimes. Like
yeah, and I mean, whether it's Benkei or fucking Musashi.
I'd love to see the whole Ishikawa verse just redone, like
yeah.
But you know, there's just not enough. I don't think there's enough money in that for them to do it.
Nah, I mean that's a very kind of niche thing now.
Yeah, I mean I'd love to see him actually finish properly that Imagawa Mazinger Z series. You know, which has a cliffhanger ending. It's just he's bad for that though. Thank God they forced him to finish G Gundam. You know,
that's the only reason I didn't like that show because it was really cool. But then it like, you know, it had that like ha 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 like you fucked up because we were just protecting you from the real.
It's my primary problem of you know, Giant Robo. right? It's
yeah.
it's so cool, but then it's like, hey, check out all this other awesome stuff that was going to happen later. That's like the real series. Yeah, you're not going to see any of this, see ya.
Wah, wah, wah.
This was like a prequel. So yeah, I agree. That takes care of two of mine too. Devilman, Mazinger Z, Mazinger Kaiser. They just did that Mazinger Infinity, which is pretty good.
Mazinger Infinity was actually really good.
Yeah, I liked Mazinger Infinity. So
the Mazinger Kaiser movies, like Mazinger Kaiser, the first
the
OVA
series is good. The third
really
episode OVA is good. And Kokutai Shogun is just like, let's kill off all the professors for no reason.
Yeah, like it was a little depressing for me. I like my super robot action to be like way less.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to be Get a Robo, I know it's going to be brutal. But Mazinger Z is usually not quite that bad about it, so.
That.
Unless you're Sayaka. Then you're upside down naked on a cross. Kind of a problem.
It's not really a cross. It's like an X.
It's an X. Whatever. That's a type of cross.
Poor Sayaka. Wah, wah, wah.
All right, so I have an easy one, I think. Although it's still not complete and may never be complete because of the mangaka. But Hunter x Hunter. Or Hunter x Hunter. Sorry. I was supposed to say the X. Hunter x Hunter. You know, they had the OVA that they did, and then they went back and they actually redid it. You know, they went back and redid. They start from the beginning, and they got all the way up to where pretty much the manga was, and then had to stop.
Yep.
But that was very well done, and it was just very successful. People liked that a lot, so that's another one I think was good. And you already said Fullmetal Alchemist. Let's just throw that in there.
I was just gonna mention that again. I know I just mentioned it, but like anytime. I really like how Japan has no problem going back. Fuck off, cat. What is this? Oh, that's a brand new shirt. What is wrong with you?
Sorry. Cat assault, pause.
Anyway, sorry. I apologize for my cat's terrible behavior. Anyway, I love that Japan has no problem. Like, they will end something early. Like, they'll go past the source material. And they'll just let people write an ending for it.
They'll either end it early or they'll do that. That second thing they do more often.
Yeah. And then they have no problem going back and then just adapting the manga ending when it's finally done. So you don't have to be pissed off about it.
I keep hearing rumors of proper Akira adaptations. So that would go in that same bucket.
That would be really nice. Right? If they just did like a series instead of a movie. Because you can never do that in a movie. Was it like 7 volumes or something?
6 or 7. I have that awesome box set.
I remember you bought the box.
I gotta read it
when
sometime soon.
But yeah, that's like a perfect example. But they've done that with like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about Legend of the Heroic Knight.
I mean, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is another one, right?
Yeah,
that's
not
another
my favorite
big one
thing in the world. But they went back and they redid everything.
Yeah, from the beginning, and they did it right. So yeah, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of stuff that was old shonen that they could redo that way. You know, some of it you don't have to. Like, there's no real need to go redo Inuyasha, right?
Inuyasha took so long.
It's new enough, and it's fine. Like even Dragon Ball Z. Like I think what they did, where they just made the Kai editions, was the smart way to do it. Like the whole thing was in there. You just had to whittle it down. That's fine.
That's another excellent thing they do. Now that you mention it, I like the Kai adaptations of stuff.
Yeah,
just like because you can easily go back and just get rid of all the filler.
What other ones do you have that were successful kind of relaunches?
Oh, let me think. What was the? Oh, I had another good one. Escape my brain. I should really write things down.
Yeah, perhaps you should.
The crap was it?
Well, you're not thinking of it. Let me talk about the formula a little bit. So, I think this is something that's obvious, and it's kind of coming out in what we're talking about, which is if you have something that's based on other source material and it wasn't adapted very well, or it was adapted kind of half-assed, or it just wasn't finished at the time, that's a prime candidate to either continue and finish or redo entirely, right?
Yep.
Those are obvious ones. The other one, I think, is when you had something, and this is more the Western style, I think, where you had something that was a good concept and a good idea. Maybe it wasn't based on anything else, but it just wasn't, it didn't quite get there, either because it's, animation wasn't there at the time, or, it just wasn't really done well, but there's some good ideas in there. That's another one where you can go back and kind of redo it and
I'm a fuckhead. I remember what it was.
Yeah.
What have they gone back and, like, what do we talk about every fucking week? Lupin the fucking Third?
Oh, Lupin the Third.
Like, how great was it to have it, like, brought into the modern era and not suck? Like, they added in computers and endless surveillance.
Lupin's an interesting one, too, because they did keep doing specials and OVAs and movies and whatever.
Yeah.
Once, twice a year.
But they died out
years.
for quite a long time.
Well, I think they still existed. We just didn't get them over here.
No, but even the movie, what I'm getting at is the difference between the stuff in the 70s was not any different than the stuff in the 90s. You know what I mean? But
it was very similar. It wasn't really updated. I know what you mean.
That's what I mean. They didn't really update it hard. But then once they got into like the 2010s,
they had to.
They started incorporating.
When they did part 4, part 5, now part 6, right? Like
they really adapted it for the modern era very well without shitting on the original source material.
Yes. That is another excellent one.
It was surprisingly well. It kind of blew my mind.
And that goes part way with the formula, right? Which is, I said stuff that's based on source material where you could readapt. They're so far away from the source material in this case. And plus, I wouldn't want to go back to the source material because I think the adapted stuff is better. Like Jigen's an obvious better character than he was in the original, right?
Oh, yeah. No, they did a lot of stuff.
But
very much correctly.
It's another thing where you can keep doing more and, you can kind of revisit some of those old episodes and concepts that maybe weren't executed that well because it was the 70s, and not that it was bad, but you can get a more modern spin on it, whatever. And a modern spin in a good way. Like, you got to be careful because this is the kind of thing where like over here now,
it's like really easy to fuck up.
Hollywood-based things now, it's like, oh God, no, please don't remake anything. Please don't go back and do anything because you're going to fuck it up.
Yep.
But with anime and the Japanese studios, it's more like, yeah, you should go do that. Like Kenshin, there's another one, right? Like,
yeah,
they're already doing a new. We'll see what comes out of that new anime if it's just adapting the new stuff or redoing it entirely. I'm going to assume they're going to redo it entirely because that just makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Oh, I would. Why wouldn't you?
And there's money to be made there because the movies did so well, and the movies were excellent. So,
excellent.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of examples out there of it. Any of these series we're talking about, go check them out. Especially like, Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood, obviously. If you haven't seen it, go watch that. Hunter x Hunter is good. It kind of sucks because it doesn't have an ending. But, I mean, at the end of the Ant arc is a good enough stopping spot for now.
The problem is I don't think he'll ever get far enough with the manga to really adapt anything else.
I really wish he would take like a Mike Mignola approach.
Unless somebody else write it or draw it.
Well, he can write it, plot it out and maybe do dialogue or whatever. Let somebody else draw it or just go directly to animation and just animate it. Like, I think there's too much problem with that where, if the mangaka is just not going to finish it because it's too much damn work and they're not feeling it, fine. But I bet you they could finish the damn story. Like, don't George R.R. Martin us. Like, finish the damn story in some format or another. Like, don't have so much pride that you can't do that.
It is true. Yeah, they have like a weird. I get it, because I wouldn't want a character I came up with to be like shit up by someone else. Like everybody who sells their rights to Netflix.
That's why you let them write it. That's why. But writing it's a lot less work.
Yeah, I just get the control issue where like there's no guarantee that they're gonna like take they're gonna do what you want them to do.
Well, there is if you're the writer or the whatever.
Yeah, no, I know.
I mean, it's not Hollywood, although I'm sure it's got its own issues.
I just get you want everything. You want tight control on everything.
Anyway.
At any rate.
I think it's time.
It's review time.
It's time to move on to KOUTETSUSHIN JEEG.
All roads lead to KOUTETSUSHIN JEEG.
Steel new JEEG. All right, so JEEG was a Super Robot show. It's from the 70s or 80s, and I couldn't tell you which.
I think it's 70s.
I think it's 70s, but it might be 80s. A lot of those shows I think are older than they are. And this is a direct sequel. So I haven't watched
Which
the original.
Is usually the kiss of death.
Yeah, I haven't watched the original, so I don't know how. A lot of times they rejigger some stuff when they do one of these, so I don't know if they rejiggered anything.
I think that is the legit ending of the.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to attest to it until I'd seen it, right? Unfortunately, JEEG was not one of those shows that was big over here. Like, we got a lot of stuff, but, JEEG was one of those things that was bigger, I think, in, like, Italy and the Middle East and, maybe Mexico.
Yeah.
Right? Spain. Like, it was bigger in some other countries. And, especially now if you're trying to track this thing down, in certain countries there's Blu-rays available. In other countries, like this one, there's nothing. You can't even find it. So you might have to do a little sail on the high seas.
Yeah, I did download a rip of it
on this one. So
I won't lie.
Anyway, KOUTETSUSHIN JEEG. So basically, you had Lady Himika. and her 3 flunkies. They're basically aliens that have, they crash landed on Earth thousands of years ago, 10,000 years ago, whatever it is. It's many, many thousands of years ago.
Yeah, it's like before humans were really.
And they got defeated by a couple other aliens that were with them. They were like, nah, man.
Yeah, it was this big like colony ship basically, and something.
Yeah, there's a huge intergalactic war and this huge ship. And
they got kind of stuck in this part of the universe, and
part of it was like soldiers and prisoners and whatever, and part of it was, normal people, good soldiers, whatever. So there was a bit of a civil war going on where, some of the group, Lady Himika, and
they basically got stuck on Earth, and
she wanted to dominate the planet.
Yeah, and then the other 2 were like, we should just live here and not be dicks.
Yep, and they sealed her away. They sealed themselves away with her, and they sealed her away thousands of years.
Thousands of years ago.
You don't find that out till later in the series, but that's what's going on. So the show starts, and one of the islands of Japan is fogged off. Like they've just written it off. So 50 years ago, Jeeg had his final battle with Lady Himika in his crazy centaur form. So awesome. Jeeg is a giant robot, obviously. It's got magnetic. Its whole gimmick is it's got like all its limbs are magnetic. Like they all attach magnetically. The pilot transforms in the new one. It's a motorcycle that transforms, and the old one it was this cyborg dude that just transformed into the head.
Yeah.
Right. So the motorcycle transforms into the head, or the guy transforms into the head.
Pretty fucking cool, actually.
And then they shoot all the rest of the parts at you from a plane or cannon or
whatever.
Yeah,
it just sucks them onto the body because it's magnetic.
And it's magnetic. It's a cool toy gimmick, obviously.
I was just gonna say it has awesome gimmicky toys where all the parts are magnetic and then they fall off because.
Yeah, it doesn't really work as well as people would like. But anyway, it's got a great classic design. And so Jeeg has final battle. Jeeg and Hiroshi, the original Jeeg pilot, who's like a cyborg.
Basically Jeeg's head.
Had his original fight with Lady Himika, and he did the same thing. Kind of like, fought her, used the power of these things called the bronze bells, which are, like the control systems for
their ship.
Their ship, and there's willpower and other stuff tied to it later. We won't get into that. And emotion. There's some warp stuff going on.
There's guts and
manly tears and whatever else.
Tears and all that.
So sealed her away. So did something similar, but this time, and that whole island now is just it's great over. Well, 50 years later, all of a sudden, it's starting to recede, right? And there's stuff starting to break out of it. So apparently time has been basically stopped in there.
Yeah. Like everybody who got stuck in there is the age they were when they got stuck in there.
So you have your 3 high school / college age kids. They're like anywhere between 16 and 20.
Yeah, they never really say.
Tsubaki, who's the granddaughter of the original pilot that shot the parts of Jeeg. Michi, who's also in it as a grandma. You got Kyo, the white-haired kid who's like his rival, the main character's rival. The main character's Kenji.
Yeah, there's got to be a high school rival.
Yeah, and
they race motorcycles, and they can't be like.
And he turns out to be something entirely different later. And then you have Kenji, who's going to be the pilot of Jeeg. He's a motorcycle racer. He's kind of a miscreant, but not terrible. He's just kind of a, he's a typical super robot pilot.
He's a light, etchy miscreant.
Yeah. He likes boobies. Because who doesn't?
Really? The great motivator.
Anyway, he just basically gets thrown into this. He apparently has had no training on how to pilot Jeeg, but there's just hit some buttons. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Yell some stuff.
Pilot Jeeg. Then he does it, and he has to fight the Haniwa Gaijin.
Yeah, they're the stock monsters of the series.
And there's different ones. It's the typical classic, super robot series. Instead of being giant robots, they're they're made out of clay and the earth and stuff. They're very earth based.
Uncle Go really loved his monsters. There was not a lot of robot on robot action.
So Lady Himika wakes up and starts sending out the Haniwa Gaijin and her 3 subordinates to go deal with basically go reconquer the earth. Now that Jeeg's out of the way, but then there's a new Jeeg. I got to deal with this. So that's how the series progressive. It's very monster of the week early on, where he's got to learn how to pilot Jeeg. He's got to get different parts.
But it's short enough where it's not 50 episodes. It's only 13 episodes, so you don't get worn out on monster of the week because it only happens a couple times.
And they do enough of explaining the story where you don't need to have seen the original at all to understand it.
No, there's plenty of flashbacks. They're short and sweet, give you all the information you need.
So it goes that way. Eventually there's going to be some twists, some turns, some double Jeeg action because you know they couldn't resist.
Oh, so good. Double G.
Yeah, and there's some interesting. They don't talk too much about the time lag because as that time barrier recedes, there are people on that island that's been sealed off that come back, and now they see people that they knew then and are now 50 years older.
Well, the professor who was stuck on the outside, he gets reunited with his wife and his kid who are still like the age they were, and he's like this ancient dude.
Yep, and then he's the father of the original pilot too, and then Hiroshi. And and then you get like the fighter pilot girls that are really good.
Yeah, and like their
the angels.
Yeah, that dude who was like their superior was like super.
Yeah,
old
it was
now,
super old,
which is funny.
So yeah, it's interesting. There's good characters. There's good characters. There's good side characters.
It's a really those sequel, those 30 years later sequels could be so fucking awful.
And it's actually well
and
done.
This one is like one of the best ones pretty much ever.
And it's not so edgy.
Oh, I'm an idiot. During the last segment, I meant to fucking say Guy King.
Oh, yeah. Guy King's another one.
But it's in the same vein of this
Guy
one.
King. But yeah, same as this one. They do a better job with the Super Robot ones, apart from Raideen, which I said we were going to talk about. We didn't, and we're not going to talk about it because fuck that Raideen remake. If you want a good Raideen remake that's way better, just watch Razafon.
Yep. Razafon solves 2 of your problems.
But anyway, Jeeg. So, yeah. What'd you like about Jeeg?
Fucking everything. It has very little... all the things that they usually screw up, they, fucking nailed. The new characters are awesome.
Yep.
And they did not disrespect the old characters. I like how they're old now, but they're still, cool.
And they can still do work if they need to.
Yeah, and they don't... A lot of times they just kind of... You get the feeling like they're just tacked on, but they were actually very... they were still...
They're integral.
Yeah, they're still integral. So, I don't know. It was really cool. And it was short and sweet. They didn't there's very little wasted time. It has a really good pace. They spent some dough on it. The animation is good. It's got plenty of old school fan service for people who like the original one.
Oh yeah. There's every time there's parts shot out of the Jeeg cannon, there's some titty jiggle and a quick panty shot. So,
yeah.
Just for you.
I didn't even mean specifically that kind of fan service, but
I know, but
you get both Jeegs
you
fighting
get both
together
kinds.
at the
I
end.
gotta you gotta warn people out there.
It's got something for everyone. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. Exactly what I needed to finish up this shitty ass year.
Yeah.
Some just good manly action, blood, guts, manly tears.
Yeah, and it's not, like I said before, it's not super edgy. It's not like Edgelord.
That was the other problem with a lot of those remakes. That was the problem with the fucking Raideen one. They just went super emo, Edgelord.
None of that.
It's fucking trash.
You could tell the people gave a shit about the story. They wrote good characters. They integrated everything well.
It seems from what I know about the original series, it seems to tie in pretty flawlessly. There's not a lot of retconning and shit. It seems pretty tight.
Yeah. Anything you didn't like about it?
That there wasn't more of it.
I think I can have one minor bitch, and that is I wish we'd have got more backstory for the Build Angels, the main pilot there, the one that wasn't from the 70s.
That's a good point.
The one who's very Jubei looking.
Yes, they never say who she actually is.
I don't maybe that's just a callback to an original character
or something. Yeah, but
and there was that whole scene with her and Hiroshi. I didn't quite there was something there, and I don't know.
I don't know if she's if they had dragged her out of the circle earlier than everyone else. You know what I mean? So she might be old.
Yeah.
But she just, I don't know.
Oh, 75 to 76, by the way, was original Jeeg. 46 episodes, so you were correct. It was a 70s show, not an 80s show.
That's what I thought. I thought it was mid-70s.
I was getting burned by Trider because Trider was actually early 80s.
Oh, really? I thought it was super old. I don't know shit about Trider, apparently.
Yeah. But, that would be my only bitch. I just don't know.
Yeah, the Build Angels did not have proper backstory. And they're kind of important. It's not like they're nothing characters.
Well, the two of them, was obvious, right? Because the two of them were they were the pilots from the base.
Yeah, from back in the day.
Because they go and liberate that base later, and they have all, the
Yeah.
The guy, because the guy's like, oh, it's not 1975 anymore. He's
Yeah,
just
right.
confused, right? So that's kind of cool. But
where
yeah,
did those chicks come from?
well, two of them.
Because they must have got.
Well, they showed that in the show. They showed that the two of them got like, they got yeeted out of like the cloud cover or whatever, like the fog at some point. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, they must
why.
have, but that must have been what happened to the other chick too.
There was but I don't know if she's from or if she was just there already.
She clearly knew Hiroshi. It's from something.
I think, like, or maybe it was their mother or grandmother or something. Like, I don't know if she was a reference to the original. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that was the only thing they didn't explain.
I don't know. And again, maybe if I watch original Jeeg, I will then know. But yeah, that would be my only bitch, because I thought she was kind of a cool character, even though she didn't get a lot of fleshing out there. But plus, I'm a sucker for that character archetype, right? Like, it's like Jubei-chan.
Yeah.
Another excellent series you also check out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my only bitch, and it's not much of a bitch. I mean, we said it before. The 3D animation is very good for the time.
It's very well blended,
and they don't use it for everything.
07, I mean.
It's not like Jeeg is always 3D CG, because that wouldn't work.
Jeeg is very rarely CG.
Very rarely.
It's mostly the motorcycles.
Oh yeah. By the way, the most ridiculous escape mechanism for planes ever is you shoot out of the plane with a motorcycle when your plane gets destroyed.
Yeah, there's no parachute involved. It's just a motorcycle.
No, you just shoot you out on a motorcycle. Why? I don't know. I mean, it makes sense when you see the position they're in. It's not like they're, in a normal sitting back cockpit position and they're on a motorcycle. Like, it's weird because when you see them in the planes, they're they're on a motorcycle.
Yeah, like their ass is sticking up in the air.
Yeah, they're leaning forward, which you think are they just doing that for cheesecake purposes? But then there's the random 70s looking dude is doing the same thing.
The same thing. You know what's awesome?
It's just because it's a bike.
When they get ejected on motorcycles in space, which makes negative sense.
They got helmets on. It's fine. Well, unless you're Hiroshi.
Yeah,
you don't need no damn helmets.
What the fuck are you going to do, on a motorcycle in space?
But, yeah, I don't know. I have no real complaints, man. I really, besides that one minor one, it's a great show. It's got a good ending. Yeah. It's awesome.
It's just a fun one that slips under the cracks.
Yeah, it really did. Maz and Kaiser and some of those other ones you hear about more. And especially a lot of the Mazinger remakes, they've redone it. But, gee, it just really flew under the radar. So, check it out.
Check it out. Anyway, we were full of shit because that was a full hour-long episode.
We prattled.
Yeah, we're allowed.
It's all right.
It's our show. Anyway, that's it. So, have a good new year. And we'll see you next year.
Yeah, let's pray it's better than this one. Well, that's all for today, everyone. We'd like to thank all of you for tuning into another episode of the Gaijin Animation Appreciation Hour. Please remember to like and subscribe, and may your entertainment be always, entertaining.